Hey guys, we are here in our loofah garden, or which used to be our loofah garden. We use this garden to plant all of our loofahs that we use for doing the dishes, for the shower, as well as in our loofah soaps very soon. We're just getting this land prepped. You can hear the tiller working in the background. We are going to till up the ground and loosen things up, as well as getting some of the leftover vines from the loofah that we planted last year tilled into the ground so we can use it for planting our squash, our Armenian cucumbers, all the viney things, pumpkins, all sorts of things. So that's what we're doing today.
You can see we also removed all this black fabric that is lining the loofah garden. We use that to stop all of the Bermuda from growing and all of the weeds as well. So this really worked well. Hi baby. Hi Valiente. I don't have no milk.
No, we need
Here we laid out cardboard right beneath the layer of fabric cloth that we're going to be putting on there to stop the Bermuda further.
this weed barrier out for this Bermuda. All this Bermuda right here is gonna end up, it'll slowly creep in here. We're going to be planting along these edges right here. Comfrey plan on having on the outside. So there's gonna be water, so just need to suppress the Bermuda as much as possible.
You're eating grass. We are now working on tilling the ground. We have extended this loofah garden, so all this area was actually really hard clay and dirt. So by tilling it, everything is loosened up so we can plant straight into the ground.
Maybe we take out the two outside rows. We can do some more ground stuff here, so maybe more squash, right? We have one row of tomatoes and then one row of the cucumbers, right? Out here we could have a couple rows of, like, I want to do the okra, so we could have we could even do the okra in here maybe, right? But like the okra somewhere, squash of course around the outsides. We'll do the spaghetti squash and whatever little viney stuff, and then later in early summer we'll get the really not even early summer, like once we get all the squash and stuff planted, we can start the watermelons, cantaloupes, all that stuff, pumpkins.
Yep.
And get that all planted out here. Because next I'll have him till all of this into the ground out here. And then we'll start watering this. And the two rows that we reclaim from here, we can extend this out 16 feet. This one right here out 16 feet. These are 16 footers, and we can close it in with these two. So now we got another 16 feet out that way. You follow? It would definitely be nice for a harvest. But yeah, this is good for now. Like, started making progress on this back here, because that's pretty much set up front. It's just little stuff that we got to do, but we got to get that squash and stuff in the ground here soon. It's actually nice where it's at too, because we'll plant on this side. It gets a little bit of rest from the pallet wall. Yeah.
That's his hand, he said.
This is all the leftover from last year's loofah grow. I didn't have the energy last year to get it all cleaned up, so it just kind of sat here. I was gonna use it as carbon around the chicken coop, because eventually we will be planting trees and comfrey around the whole chicken coop. But I figured, why not just, we'll till this into the ground here. I was kind of hesitant of putting it over here because the white flies hit the loofah pretty bad, and I didn't want to continue that cycle over here. But I think I'm just gonna tackle it. We won't be growing that many crops that the white flies like to hop on, which are seems like it's the cucumbers and loofah, like that type of family that they like to attack. So I don't think there would be that much of a problem. There was a little bit of squash bugs in here, but I think ultimately it's going to be okay, just because I'll be monitoring it a little bit closer this year. Feel a little bit stronger, so I should be able to be out more this year to manage things better. So yeah, what's gonna happen is once I get the tiller wheel fixed, because somehow the inner tube just like plopped off, but I'll get the tiller wheel fixed, then I'll have Emmanuel continue breaking up this soil over here and tilling this old loofah branches and leaves, pretty much all this carbon, just back into the ground. It will stop the compaction because it's really heavy clay over here. So we're gonna plant some pretty good crops that are good with the clay and can break it up. So the squash we found do pretty well in the clay. So we'll just be planting a bunch of that right here. And yeah, pretty soon you'll see this all gone, and this place will look all manicured and tidied up. And I got some really cool trees in that we're gonna plant around here to bring some natural shade into here. It's a miracle tree, they call it. But it's a nitrogen fixer. So what it does is it accumulates nitrogen in its roots and these little in its rhizomes, these little nodules, and you can prune it a lot. So you can do a lot of chop and drop on this tree, and it grows back. It's like the tree that just keeps on giving. It's kind of like moringa, honestly, except moringa is not a nitrogen fixer. So every time you chop it and you put the carbon back in the ground, what we'll do is we will strip the leaves, and the leaves are really high in protein, so we'll be feeding it to the livestock. But every time you chop it, all those nodules that are building up the nitrogen, it releases it back into the ground. So we're gonna plant that strategically around here, maybe at the end of each one of these rows. So because these are gonna be walkways, so this would be a walkway this will all be a walkway right here. This irrigation will come across, and then we'll grow a little space roughly about the size of this right here. So just enough room for like 2 squash plants right here, and then over 4 times just like this all the way down. So really about right here, we can put a tree at each one of these posts, have a tree coming up, and then maybe even on the opposite end have a tree coming up, and that way its roots, as it's going out searching for nutrients, every time we chop that guy, it will release that nitrogen back into the ground over here for the garden. And then also along the outsides, just to bring in some natural shade. It does really good in just about any type of soil. It could go up to 6 or 7 months without water once it's established. So you baby it for the first year, and after it gets established after that year, I mean, it's extremely drought resistant. So yeah, it's a really good plant to start off with if you have water. If you're starting off in a situation where there's no water, it doesn't do well because you have to get it started to begin with. But once it's established, it should do well. So hopefully it does well here. You know, once again, theory, reading, researching, learning. But what I found is this particular tree really does well in our type of environment here in Pahrump. The only thing I'm worried about is we get some pretty harsh freezes, but I've read that it could get down pretty low into the teens without killing it. So we'll see. And that's what's going on back here. Just doing a lot of cleanup from last year. I didn't have a lot of strength, so things kind of fell apart, but we're getting it back together.
Just a gentle reminder that homesteading is not a one-day thing. Don't stress out if you can't get everything done in a weekend or even a month. It can take you a few months to complete a project. So don't be so hard on yourself and have lots of fun while you're doing it. We thank you so much for joining us. Please subscribe and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.